Hi, everyone, and welcome once again to Geekfest Rants. My name is Carlos Perone, and joining me today, I have once again Kyle, Kim, and Mike. Say hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
We are going to discuss today our last day of Celebration 6, Sunday, which is normally the lightest of all the days, but there were enough events happening that day that, we can let you know about. And I know a lot of us had fun and got to attend some of these panels and presentations. Let's begin with our pre-celebration event like we had on the previous 2 days, and that is we got to go to a press conference. This time around, we got to listen to Warwick Davis. He was there as a convention guest. He was doing his own thing. He had his own panel later in the day and on previous things like that and autographs and this and the other. But he was nice enough to give us one of these press conferences just like before. He was only there for like 15, 20 minutes and the crowd was only about 10, 15 people. So once again, we're really close, only about 15, 20 feet away from him. And we got to ask him questions and everybody had a chance basically to ask away. And I got a question in there. I asked him something about what was it like when he was filming Return of the Jedi in terms of being able to be tutored with teachers there on the set. How was he, how did he keep up with his schoolwork? And he gave us this long story about how, he's there and he made great friends with these tutors and that how they would only be allowed to work certain hours and then they would have to stop working and get back to teaching and learning about stuff. So that was great fun. And again, not a lot of people knew about this. Not a lot of people showed up, but it was a quick little get for us, as part of the quote unquote media. It's like, great, another one we can add to our list of celebrity interviews, if you will. And it's funny because a couple of days later, we ran into him when we went to Disney. He was there with his family, going through Pirates of the Caribbean. It's like, oh my God, no. And he had no entourage or anything. There was no park people around him. It was just him and his family. And it was like, my God, we just ran into him a couple days ago. That's amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say, our kids were kind of like, oh, let's go say hi. Let's go say hi. Look, no.
Yeah, it was
this is where you learn the difference between, I'm a fan, and keeping you cool.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun. Now, I know you guys did some things on Sunday. Mike, what did you remember for Sunday?
Well, it was pretty neat on Sunday. I went to the panel, You Call Him Dr. Jones. It was talking about the release of Raiders on Blu-ray, all four of the movies. Ben Burt was there. Can't remember who else was there. And they talked a little bit about some of the deleted scenes, which is actually going to be pretty neat to get the Blu-ray and find out what those deleted scenes were. They did show one with Sala and with the Nazis. And
it's funny because I've seen pictures of a lot of those deleted scenes on the making of book they put out a couple years ago by Rinsler. And you almost never have seen these scenes. They never surfaced anywhere. And I'm glad they're finally going to put them out for us.
Yeah, they just said that was the one clip. They said there was more.
Well, the swordsman, that famous scene of Indy actually fighting the swordsman, I believe that's going to be in it. Instead of the shooting him, they're actually interacting and fighting with each other.
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting. And they just talked about how they cleaned up the films, and especially like Raiders, and they were releasing an IMAX for 1 week, which I did get a chance to see. Mm-hmm. That was cool. And then Ben Burt talked about stories about the sounds and how we record sounds. And he told us a story how he was in a 7-Eleven or one of those convenience stores and the refrigerator unit was not working right and it made these weird noises, and how he always carries a recorder, and he took it and he put it in the refrigerator and he went and did his shopping and then came back a few minutes later and now he's got the sound and he likes it. And I met with him that Sunday to get his autograph, and I told him how I love the panel and hearing about all those things, how you create the sounds, find the sounds, record it. And he goes, yeah, look for it in Star Trek 2.
Uh-oh, we got a scoop, ladies and gentlemen.
Scoop.
Our first scoop.
He said he'll probably use it as a force shield in Star Trek 2.
Spoiler.
So spoiler. So
we are spoiling Star Trek 2. Our only place we can spoil it for you. Right here, we have confirmation.
So we know J.J. Abrams is going to have force fields.
Force fields.
That's all we know.
There we go.
I have no idea what the sound looks like.
I don't have to see the film now. I'm spoiled.
Don't know what the sound's like, but you just got to look for it and go, hey, that's from Ben Burt.
You see a force shield and you'll be thinking of a refrigerator.
Basically, pretty much.
Another neat thing with the Raiders panel was a couple of people came in costumes. There was actually a guy dressed as a stormtrooper, but he was Indiana Jones. So he had the hat, the whip, the leather jacket, and a laser rifle. So that was pretty neat.
Oh, my God.
The other cool thing was a woman came dressed as Marion, and she had a little stuffed monkey. And she was sitting in the audience, which everybody got a big kick out of. So it's like, Star Wars convention, but you still had Raiders.
That's the thing. I mean, the costumes, they're so creative, and they're not your standard costumes. In other words, yes, you do see a lot of people dressed up as standard characters, but then you get combinations of characters. You get like Family Guy Star Wars characters. I saw a guy wearing a prototype Boba Fett Kenner action figure costume. It's so weird, the mishmash of genres that they do that have to do with Star Wars.
And the odd ways that they just will show a regular character. There was one woman there who was dressed as a Princess Leia Kenner action figure. The cloak she wore looked like
hard plastic.
Yeah, it was like hard plastic.
Yeah, it was
it
weird.
looked like the vinyl cloak that, Kenner had, and her hair was like plastic, the buns on the side.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. There was also another woman dressed as Empire Strikes Back Leia when they were down in the asteroid, actually in the monster's stomach. She was dressed in that white outfit with the white puffy vest, and she had a wire
Minoc
stick hanging up over her shoulder with a Minoc. So the Minoc was following her everywhere. That was creepy.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I think the best costume I saw at the convention was a guy, he doesn't have any legs. So he has like prosthetic legs, but they're like blue bands. So like he can like run in the legs. And he was basically Darth Maul, the cybernetic Darth Maul. And I thought that was like the coolest costume I've ever saw.
So he attached the talons to his prosthetic.
No,
running
he
legs.
didn't have the talons. He just put on the thing and he put on like the legs.
Yeah, I saw a couple of different ones like that.
Yeah, there's another guy who had legs. He just put on stilts and attached the talons.
Yeah, one of the things for me going to Celebration and New York Comic Con, again, is like Kim was saying before, the costumes. There's so many creative people out there. You had a Beaker
Yeah.
Stormtrooper.
All the Muppets, I think I saw. I
It
saw
was
all
all
of them.
the Muppets. I have
Yeah.
a picture of all the Muppets. Miss Piggy, Kermit, Animal, Beaker. They were all Muppets dressed as stormtroopers.
The other thing, too, that I like, they had two guys dressed in black as ties, and they had boxing gloves. So they were TIE fighters.
I saw
Pretty
the,
bad, but it's creative.
I know, yeah. I saw the ATST pilots on the ATST walkers, and their legs were the walker legs, and their fake legs were inside the walker. So it was like really weird. And it's two of them, one next to each other. That was cool too.
There was a Hello Kitty dressed as a slave Leia. Very funny. You had a Green Lantern Boba Fett.
Oh my God.
You had the robot chicken Boba Fett.
Yeah, I saw that one. The chicken with the Boba Fett helmet. How about you? What did you see?
Well, I recall on Sunday, Amanda and I running to the diorama workshop again because, they were getting ready to have the finished product, and we had one more building that we had made that we needed to paint. So we did that. I also did a lot of inspecting of the vendor floor because I'd been doing it in fits and starts, and Sunday I finally got a chance to really see the things that I hadn't seen yet on the vendor floor.
Well, Sunday is one of the best times if you're going to the floor for shopping, because a lot of times what happens is the vendors don't want to return to their places of origin with merchandise. They want to sell everything. So a lot of times you can haggle quite a bit. Prices drop on that last day. I remember I was able to pick up this binder I wanted because of the picture on the cover, and I got it for half price because it was the last day and people were just unloading stuff left and right. Now, Kyle actually got to go to a panel on Sunday, which was scheduled for Sunday. It's unusual because of the fact that by Sunday you're really running out of stuff to do. He got to see Sam Witwer. Tell us about that, Kyle.
That was the highlight of the day for me. It was really like the biggest panel of the day, basically, because I went online once again like an hour and a half early, and I saw a lot of the same people I saw in the Clone Wars line. So I waited for like an hour. Dad brought me some water. I went by myself, so I went in there. He was talking about his show, Being Human on Sci-Fi. He was talking about how he got the job for Darth Maul, and he also did a Q&A. I got to ask him a question. I asked him about The Walking Dead because when Rick goes inside the tank, Sam Witwer plays the zombie that's in the tank, and I asked him about how that was supposed to work out, and he said he was supposed to have like this episode about him and and his group of military dudes, and they're fighting in Atlanta, and then eventually he's supposed to get bitten and he crawls inside the tank, and it's supposed to end with the zombie waking up and seeing Rick, and he basically explained that whole thing to me. It was really nice to see him in person.
What was cool about that is that not only does he, because Kyle recorded it and I listened to it, and at first he's like, yeah, a lot of people ask me about that, and if you want to know about it, go to YouTube or go to Ain't It Cool and you can read about it. But it's funny because even though he's told the story before, he loves to tell the story, and he goes through the whole story because he's still, upset at the fact that they're never going to get to shoot that episode that he was supposed to do, because on that particular premiere episode, he was uncredited, which means he never got credit for being in the show. And it was supposed to pay off when they actually shot that second season episode of him, as a soldier with his group. But unfortunately, because Darabont is no longer involved, it's never going to happen. So, it's something that's always, it's a story that he's always willing to tell people.
He also said that they actually got rid of Darabont, so they got rid of him for some reason. Frank Darabont didn't just leave on his own accord, so they got rid of him.
Yeah, that's a whole, he said, she said type of situation that you could, like I said, go to Ain't It Cool and search through their archives, because the whole story of what happened to Frank Darabont is there. But Sam Witwer is the same person we said before. Kyle got his autograph the previous day or 2 days before that. And for Kyle, that was one of his big events for the convention. The last big event that was eagerly anticipated by all of us, and we all made a point to make sure we were there for, was the closing ceremonies. Now, last time we went to Celebration, they had an opening ceremonies, which was a nice hour-plus long event, with Steven Sansweet and some other people would come and sing, and then they tell some jokes and this and that, and they tell you about everything that was happening. This time around, they didn't have an opening ceremony. This time around, they were promoting this closing event, which, it said, and surprises and this and that. So, we were all thinking, oh, maybe Lucas is going to come back in that day, or some big guest or something big was going to happen. And overall, the information we learned at that, it was a presentation. It was a wrapping up kind of event.
The presentation itself, with all the highlights that were, shown in the montages, that was pretty cool.
Right. They showed us a montage video of the previous 3+ days. They somehow were able to edit together a little, 3-4 minute video of people, doing kind of montagey type of stuff, which was cute.
Yeah, and it was cool because half my face was in there. It was back on the floor of the show, and Filoni was there signing some autographs. My picture was there. I was sort of there. But you can look for me in the back, but I made it into the montage. And I think Amanda made it in, too, didn't she?
Yes, yeah, Amanda was in there.
And the other thing they were announcing, which was a big deal, I guess, for the convention, was that the next 3D films, which originally they were slated to be one a year, probably January, February, they were going to go with 2 films this time around. They were going to go for Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith only a couple of months later. So we are getting 2 3D films early next year, which is a surprise. And it leads you to think, why? Why are they, going off from the plan? Is there a problem? Do they don't think people are going to show up the following year? Do they want to just get it over with and kind of jump fast to the original trilogy, which is what most people want to see, is the original trilogy in 3D. So that was an interesting, cool little surprise, but it wasn't earth-shattering either. And the next thing and final thing that they announced, which we were thinking, well, I don't know, maybe they'll tell us that they're going to do Orlando again or something. But what they were telling us is that next year they're going to do Germany for a celebration.
Celebration Europe. Not the regular Celebration, but Celebration Europe. Along with the German Oompa band, they basically told us that... us personally, that we're probably not going to be enjoying Celebration next June, because there's very little chance we're getting to Germany, which is another kick for us, because we've wanted to go to Germany for ages and ages, and now there's even more reason to go.
And
we have family there. We have
plus it's also a year away. People have no time to prepare for this.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you wanted to save up for it, you got to do it quickly. I mean, I'm sure people in Europe will be thrilled, though, which I guess it's only fair.
And they've done Europe before. They've done London, as I mentioned once before, and they did Tokyo, Japan. So they are known for going and, trying to do other countries, but it was a little disappointing, obviously, for the probably 90% of the people there who are from the States who can't go to Germany. It was a little bit of a letdown.
Or at least not so soon, maybe, either.
Right. Like I said before, the only thing that would have made the closing ceremonies any better, or to repair the sadness from this Germany news, was show us a big star to close it with. And they really didn't have a big star. They had the hosts were there to say goodbye to everybody, and that was practically it. They weren't able to get a Mark Hamill or even a Carrie Fisher or Ian McDermott, any of the big guys. They had a pre-recorded video thing, but they should have had, I think, at the end, something big to give us, and I don't think they gave it to us.
Well, they did have something big. It was the organizer of the show.
Well,
she was the one, and I remember her name, but that was the empty seat.
I think that was Mary Franklin, yeah.
To tell us about Celebration Europe. Yeah, a little bit of a disappointment. I agree. There was nothing earth-shattering. It was just talking about, okay, this is all you've done the whole weekend. So for all of us sitting there, it's like, yeah, been here. We did that. So I was disappointed too.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, she deserves a lot of credit for everything she puts together, and she definitely deserved applause and to be brought up there. We just wish she had, some different kinds of news. Although, from several places, again, not necessarily legitimate sources, we've been hearing that
Every waiter and busboy that we've encountered during our trip to Florida has the skinny. He has the inside track on the fact that they're coming back to Orlando because they have a special deal and blah, blah, blah.
2 years.
I've heard 2014 and I've heard 2015.
Every bus driver knows this. Everybody knows, except us, except
Yeah.
the legitimate.
No, I think I heard from something else too that wasn't a bus driver.
Yeah, and we blew it because remember, Kim, we ended up meeting the organizer woman after the show. We could have asked her, but we didn't do that.
We should have
She
asked
wasn't
her.
gonna tell
all
you.
we
And
did
she
was-
wasn't going to tell
Yeah.
us.
No
All
way.
we did though was we did thank her for the great job and how we had
Yes.
a good time, and she really appreciated a fan saying, "Well, thank you," because she did seem a little surprised when we went, "Thanks for everything you did." And it's like, "Well, thanks."
Yeah, but if we had asked her, she would have just looked at us and gone,
Security.
Germany.
Germany. I'm only thinking about Germany.
So if anybody would like to send Geekfest rants to Germany in June 2013.
Are we starting a Kickstart project?
Yes, let's do a Kickstart project.
Donations are welcome.
Yes, donations are welcome. We can go report on Celebration for you, and we can visit my cousin.
Yeah. Well, now, in spite of the lackluster ending, we had a great time. As far as I'm concerned, just as good as last time. You're never bored. You're always sad that you couldn't be in more places at the same time, or that they couldn't stretch it longer to be able to do all these events. You're always, like I said before, there's always 2 or 3 events happening at the same time that you have to decide which to go to and which you're going to miss. And in my case, I try to catch up on some of these events on YouTube because some of them make it to YouTube, so at least you get to see them that way. But easily every day there were like 4 events that I missed that I couldn't get to see. I guess in a way that's good. That's the thing. You're never bored. The dealer room alone, we talked about this a million times. I could spend a whole day just in the dealer room because there's so many places to look at, not necessarily to buy everything in sight, but there's so many dealers and they have so much good material. And the fact that it's not like a regular convention where you have maybe 10-15% of the dealers have Star Wars merchandise. This is the other way around. 90% of the dealers have Star Wars merchandise. You cannot stop. It's just everywhere.
Yeah, and again, in the main floor show, besides the dealer's room, there's just so many other things to do. All the displays, like the Rancor. And the Lego, we didn't even talk about the Lego display. I think it's the Florida-based group
Oh, they always
put
have
out
this
all
huge,
their
huge.
Lego display. And the chalk, the artist that does the chalk pictures on
The
the
murals,
floor,
yeah.
the murals. And all the things that you can get into, like we said before, the speeder bikes. Oh, there's just so many. But the only disappointing thing was I missed all the Slave Leia gathering. I
Well-
only saw one. I got my picture with one.
Well, they were looking for you too, Mike, right?
Well, they didn't find me.
Don't worry, I'll have to forward you the picture that I took of you and one Slave Leia. That was pretty good. Well, that wraps it up for the celebration part, but we have a bonus topic, believe it or not. Even though it wasn't part of Celebration, we spent a couple of days at Disney after Celebration, and we finally got, because we hadn't yet since the upgrade, to ride Star Tours. So this was our first time riding the new Star Tours. As you probably know, because we've done a show a couple of months ago when they first premiered Star Tours and some of our friends went on it, that the thing about Star Tours now is not only is it a 3D ride, but it's also changes. It keeps changing every time you ride it. There's apparently 54 different combinations of how things are mixed up in the ride.
2 times 3 times 3 times 3.
Exactly. That's the famous number you have to remember. And how that works is this way. There's 2 openings. The ride has 2 different types of openings. There's a Darth Vader opening, and there's a robotic kind of flying droid opening. Then you have 3 environments you visit. They could be anywhere from Coruscant to the Death Star 2 being built. But right before that, Boba Fett is chasing you through some asteroids. Hoth is one of the biggest ones, one of the ones that keeps repeating itself. That's 3 right there. Now, the next number is 3. There's 3 holographic messages after their first destination. You have a Leia, an Akbar, and a Yoda. Then you have another 3. 3 more destinations. You have Kashyyyk, you have Tatooine, and I believe, Naboo and the Gungan City. That's part of the first one, but it doesn't matter anyway. Those 3 destinations also lead to 3 different endings that are attached to some of those destinations. So like I said, like Mike was just saying, the number to remember is 2333. You multiply that and you have your 50-some what different combinations of the ride. The queue in the line is a little different now. The actual ship that you see has been painted and it's a different color. There's some different characters around there. In the background, they substituted some of those mechanical factory type of things with a lot of astromechs are part of the queue. You see some Akbar type of characters up top, kind of controlling the whole thing.
You have a droid scanning luggage.
Yeah.
And you have to look inside because there's all different pictures.
Right.
Like, there was one picture, nothing but guns, and
Yeah.
it's like, whose luggage does this belong to?
Right. They go through this whole little comedic type of thing about all the different things that are being scanned. You see an area on the wall where you see like the shadows of people walking in, and you see like human characters and monster type of characters and that sort of thing. Now,
And then the infrared cameras out there, so you can actually watch as you're walking.
Right.
There's a camera for infrared.
and it's on
if you
delay,
look
so
up-
you could see it when you get in. You see you moving and waving or whatever you're doing. But you're waiting for the ship to take off. The film that they're playing is a little different. Instead of a host narrating it, now you see like the ship being prepped and a whole bunch of droids doing stuff to it, like the pit droids, and it's kind of like our astromechs doing like a little comedic type of thing. Then you go through the ride, as usual, you have your 3D glasses and that sort of thing. But what's interesting is that while I was going on the ride the first couple of times, because I knew I wanted to go more than once, I kept trying to remember how many different combinations are there. So we went a couple times and I'm trying to figure it out. So then I started texting my friend back here in Jersey, asking him, can you go on the wiki and figure out how many different places there are? Because I don't know how many I've seen. Well, when it was all said and done, by the end of the day, because we had so many breaks in what we were doing and we were waiting for people and this and that, I ended up writing it 10 times. And I think it was around the 8th or 9th time was when I finally saw the last place that I needed to see in order to complete the ride, as far as being able to visit all those locations with all those messages and all those openings.
Yeah, you were the lucky one, Carlos, because I only went on 7 times, and I missed Tatooine, I missed the Yoda,
Oh, okay.
and I missed another one, so I didn't get a chance to see them all either. So you're the lucky guy.
Yeah, I missed Yoda too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The endings, from what I remember, and again, they're attached to where you were. There's a Coruscant landing platform ending. There's a return to the Rebel base kind of ending, which I think is at the end of the Death Star. And there's a return to an area where there is a droid waiting for you kind of ending, I believe. But it's the type of ride that if you haven't seen all of them, next time you visit, you try it again. I don't care. I'll go on it again. I had fun.
And there was no lines. That was the funny part.
That was the best.
There was really no lines to wait. You could come off, and then
Yeah.
you just went right back on.
Yeah.
You
Every
didn't
time I
need
went,
your speed pass at all.
Yep.
So Carlos was like, want to go again? Yeah, let's go again. Want to
again.
go again? Yeah, let's go again.
it always said 10 minutes. And 10 minutes wasn't even 10 minutes. It was basically as fast as you could walk.
5 minutes, yeah.
Right.
As fast as you could walk in, it was the fastest you got
Well,
on
you
the
know
ride.
why it said 10 minutes? Because the ride is about a 10-minute ride. It's really probably a 5-minute ride. But they figured 5 minutes for you to walk to the ride, and then 5 minutes for you to wait for the movie to end playing so you can walk in. So that's the 10-minute thing.
Probably it.
And as usual, you exit the ride and you go into the gift shop where I was able to find some interesting things to bring back. And they revamped the inside of the store a little bit. They updated some of the decor inside. And, another one that I almost forgot, and this is something that a lot of Star Wars collectors were disappointed, and they were hoping that they would have it at the convention. They have in the Tatooine Jawa Trader store, which is the one you exit, from the ride, they build a droid section where they have all different types of astromech parts where you assemble your own astromech, and the attendant there puts it inside a carded bubble that you can take home with it, and you can give it a name or whatever with the little stickers, or a dual bubble if you want to buy 2 of them. And that's something that a lot of people were hoping they would have at the convention, which would have been great. I mean, the line would have been endless. But they didn't have it, unfortunately. But we were able to get there. The kids each got their own. I got my own. Mine's not getting open. It's up on the wall where it belongs.
Oh my God.
And the kids open up theirs.
Well, I picked up a cool T-shirt.
That's right.
I have a picture of Chewbacca. And it says, when in doubt, send in the Wookiee.
They have
Yeah,
they
that's
have
great.
really cool shirts. One of my favorite shirts I saw, I remember at the convention, is the classic Sasquatch picture from like a mile away running into the woods, and you can see the Chewbacca bandolier and the bag that he's carrying.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was really inventive. And that part of Disney pretty much wraps up the Star Wars portion of what we encountered on Celebration. And this pretty much wraps up our 4-part description of some of the things we saw, but we are probably going to have at least one more episode probably dealing with what the kids did exactly, because the kids had some other events that they were able to attend that are very kid-specific.
How families can enjoy Celebration, basically. What there is for families to enjoy at Celebration.
That's right.
Aren't we all just kids at heart?
Good question. Anyway, I'd like to thank all of our participants today, Kyle, Kim, and Michael, for participating in our wrap-up show, Part 4 of Celebration 6. And until next time, we'll see you here soon on Geekfest Rants. Bye-bye, everybody.
Stop.